Live from the Swim and Sport Club in Flanders, New Jersey, the birthplace of team handball in the USA, American Handball Associates is proud to present Handball Heroes II. Tonight, the Founders Awards, a tribute to the three people who made team handball possible in this country: Peter and Renata Buning and Laszlo Jurak on his 90th birthday.
Agree. You know, we have sat at this bar for many post-game analyses over the years.
A very fine SSC tradition. And you know what? You remember that one time when Jeb came in?
Is that Paul Bray right here?
You know what? I think I heard something. Is that really the voice of international handball legend, play-by-play, English-speaking handball god, Paul Bray? I believe it is. I think he's somewhere in here. Maybe. I'm looking for him.
Looks to the line. It's a penalty, and Fabregas fouled in the act of shooting. It's a yellow card for Dari for the foul that's coming up as he grabs his shirt and keeps pulling from behind. Steps inside as well. Plays in Hungary for Veszprém as well, because he doesn't really take penalties for Veszprém. He's only taken 3 this season from his 33-goal haul.
You're listening to Paul Bray, voice of international English-speaking handball. Given this momentous occasion, we had hoped to have Paul introduce our show tonight and be part of the festivities. Unfortunately, Mr. Bray is not available and sends his sincere apologies. Instead, we present Nigel Bray-upon-Thames, his insanely jealous older brother.
Good evening. My name is Nigel Bray-upon-Thames, the older and wiser brother of the so-called voice of international handball, the man who by himself is bringing to the English-speaking world the game we love so much. Yes, well, he's bringing it to the world, and I, Nigel Bray-upon-Thames, the last name of which my brother has chosen to shorten to the TV-friendly and simple Bray. I am the one who knows the game in America, and therefore I have been asked to present a short history of handball in the USA, or team handball, as you Yanks are forced to call it. Here at Handball University, where we've been studying the history of the game in the New World, we know it all begins with an enterprising, fabulously wealthy Austrian media magnate named Rupert Murdoch, who was such a fanatic for the game that he had fashioned an already bulbous nose into a handball and insisted that the umlauts in his name be written as handballs, decided to do something about it. He offered a small fortune in gold bars to the country who could bring handball to America. After several rounds of preliminaries in which actual handball warriors were sacrificed to the cause, Germany, led by Team Buning, and Hungary, led by Team Jurak, set sail for the New World on June 2nd, 1953, ironically the very day of the coronation of Queen Elizabeth, which is probably why the event slipped under the media radar. Anyway, after a pair of grueling journeys in which the buffet was often tipped over and pandemic oversight wasn't quite what it is today, the two countries set up shop in America, Team Buning in New Jersey and Team Jurak on Long Island. There they battled for years for handball supremacy, with neither country gaining enough American territory and handball victories to claim that star prize. But just before all hell broke loose, the cavalry rode in to save the day in the form of General William Westmoreland, who brokered a deal between the two countries. In the summer of 1969, with Team Buning and Team Jurak in the background, Westy, as he was called by almost no one, signed the famous Treaty of Short Hills, after which he stepped to a microphone in front of a live TV audience to announce the creation of the Army Champs program, which proposed to put a team of soldiers playing handball on the moon by the end of the decade, which would have been tough since that was only a year away. Quickly, an aide whispered in his ear, and he amended the goal to say a team of soldiers in the Olympics in 1972. The Army Champs program did just that and brought an end to the fighting that had plagued the New York-New Jersey border for decades. Thus, flushed with Olympic success, General Westmoreland called a young lieutenant colonel named Michael Cavanaugh to Washington and commissioned him to develop handball outposts at forts and campuses across the nation.
Excuse me?
Of the Army Champs
Oh, would you
program
please shut up?
that he, the
Good
general,
Lord, man.
saw as key. What?
What's all this then? My God, who said that?
It's me, Paul Bray. If you were really my brother, you'd recognize my voice.
Oh, Paul! Of course. It's been a long time.
Yes. Never is a very long time. And I think it's time for you to exit this video stage.
But I haven't told the world about Kavanaugh converting the West to handball.
Well, I'm sure it'll all come out in the bar tonight. Goodbye. So, ladies and gentlemen, so sorry for that interruption. Instead, let me just offer my very best wishes and congratulations to the Buning family and a hearty happy birthday and job well done to the amazing Laszlo Jurak, on his 90th birthday. Also, congratulations to Jan O'Shea, winner of this year's Cavi Award. Thank you for 4 years of service to the sport. And on behalf of the entire international handball community, I salute all the winners at Handball Heroes II. And now, please welcome player number 1 of the Army Champs program, past Olympic athlete and coach, your first host for the evening, Dennis Bergholz. Good night and enjoy the rest of your evening.
As I've seen. For me, I was the first one to learn how to play in the States, and here's the story behind that. I was an all-Army athlete in 4 or 5 sports, depending on how you count it sports. So what do you, big voice, like this? So I was at Fort Jackson. I'd rather do this. So I was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and I was an all-Army athlete in 4 or 5 sports. Time out. Time out. Okay. Testing. Yeah. Okay, let's try again. Still got an echo. Yeah. Testing. 1, 2. Is that better? Can you hear me? JR, you're next. I didn't hear you. Testing. Louder. Okay. So anyway, I was working in a gymnasium in the Army, and that was my job. I was an athletic director. And one day in 1967, 1968, I got a phone call, and it was Department of the Army called DA. They said they wanted me to go to New York to learn how to play this new sport called team handball, and I could possibly become an Olympian. And I told them I had no interest in playing team handball because I had 2 handball courts in my gymnasium, and I didn't really like playing handball. We're all familiar with that story, and that's a true story. At that time, he called me Dennis because I was a good friend of all the guys at the highest level because I was a good athlete at the time. And the next day, I got a call back, and they reminded me that I was in the Army and that I would go to New York to play handball. He actually called me Specialist Burkholz and not Dennis anymore. So I went up to New York. I had a TDY, which is temporary duty, and I was stationed at the YMCA on 42nd and something right downtown in the middle of New York City. And on a Saturday morning, Peter called me. I hadn't met Peter previously. And he said, I'll pick you up at 10 o'clock in the morning and we'll go out to Adelphi and you can watch handball being played. Peter drove up in his big white Cadillac, which was his trademark at the time, and took me out to Adelphi where I saw my good friend Laszlo and a bunch of people that I called street fighters playing. They were all Adelphi kids, or men, young men, and at best they were good athletes, but not as good as the quality that are in this room here. Peter had me sit on the sidelines for about 10 minutes. Laszlo was playing center back, so I knew I had a good chance of making that team. So after about 10 minutes, Peter told me to go in there and play center back and start playing. And I said, Peter, I don't know the rules. We've all heard this before when you first start playing. They just toss you in there and it's OJT, on-the-job training. You don't know the rules, you don't know anything, but you start playing. And I was in college, a basketball player at Kansas State. I played the point guard at that time, we were called, so I was a good ball handler. I knew how to visualize the court. And the first day, besides Laszlo, I was probably the best player. And I knew then that I had a future in the best sport in the world, handball. And I appreciate everything that Peter, Renata, and Laszlo did, and the rest of us. I can't tell you how proud I am to stand up here and be a part of this family. And I appreciate everybody being here. I want to thank the American Handball Association because Mark Wright put this together along with the Federation, and it's something that we need to support from now on. This is a really, really good thing we have going on here tonight. We need better attendance. You all need to get your friends here. I need to get my friends here. And we all need to support the sport a little bit better beyond just playing. So let's move forward, and the first award, or the first presentation, my good friend JR, Jim Rogers, played wing for us in the 1972 Olympic Games, and he'll make the first presentation. Thank you.
Peter, Renata, Laszlo were the building blocks of team handball. Peter led the military development process, while Laszlo introduced the civilian cadre to the national program. In 1970, I met Dennis Burkholz and Peter Buning at Fort Bragg to begin charting the military course of team handball, with Dennis leading the way. Peter had sold General Westmoreland, as you saw earlier, on the game, and the military was in and ready to pay. They collected the athletes that they wanted, that had played all kinds of sports, and put them together in 6 spots around the United States. We learned the game, and then we taught the game to the American public that was involved with either one of the military cadre positions, either the folks from, I'm sorry? Boy, so they do and they don't. Anyway, I'll just share that we had 6 forts around the United States that we taught the National Guard and the reservists how to play the game. And the idea that Westmoreland had was to turn around and have those reservists teach the game to the American public. And he was convinced that the military would get the credit for introducing to our culture the game of team handball. Although we needed Peter needed to spend lots of time with the team, he chose to spend some time with his family and a little bit of time with his business in favor of his passion of team handball. We are so grateful because we military people came together because he and Laszlo sat down and decided at Fort Belvoir that we should collect the best of the national players that were non-military and the best of the military players, and brought them in a series of assignments to learn the game at the highest of levels. Laszlo and Peter put team handball on the map and conducted an intense program for several weeks before we went to Elkhart, Indiana. And Elkhart was the place where we began. Many of you here tonight were a part of that national process, some making and others building great players amongst you who played in future Olympic Games. Peter, thank you. You grew our Olympic process. Each of you of selflessness and deserving of being members of our great original Olympic Foundation. To you, thank you for being a part of what we are. Now we're going to have a video that's going to explain a little bit about the next chapter in team handball.
over as a sophomore, and they suggested to him that the course of study was too difficult and that he really should start as a freshman. Well, that wasn't in my dad's plan. Dad said to them, he said, I'll make you a deal. He says, let me start as a sophomore, and if I can't hack it, next year I'll restart as a freshman. At the end of the 4 years that normal students would go or more, they give an award for highest cum. Well, they had to make a special one because Dad had highest cum with 3 years.
I loved Peter. Peter loved me. I loved Evelyn. Evelyn loved me. And me being a little country girl from Mount Olive going to East Carolina, when I joined that handball team, to be honest with you, I was used to being around everybody, quote unquote white people. But when I joined that handball team as the only black on the team, me going to East Carolina had prepared me for that. But at the same time, to train at that level, in those conditions, all of us living in one house, it didn't prepare me for that. And Peter always reassured me, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Just play ball. Just play ball. You know.
It was Peter's vision and an aspiration to qualify for 72, and so it was always engineering. You know, he would engineer people for the better of U.S. handball, and to make it better, he also had to make it better in the South American and Caribbean countries. So there was always a purpose for that, and so you know he had to be a masterful politician because you know the South Americans and the Caribbean and Central Americans, it's like herding cats in a lot of ways.
You know, he was always bigger than life than me because he just carried himself differently than most people. So I always respected the heck out of him. But in the handball world, just that these guys would come over from overseas and he knew everybody. And it was, you know, this was his best friend, Siegfried Peroy and guys like that. And it was.
He was always so cuddly. I remember we always did this thing, like I would jump in the bed and he would draw pictures on my back and I'd have to guess what they were, like a cat or a sun or, that was my favorite thing. And I think I did that that's kind of what I remember. I loved crawling into bed with him. He was always, he worked so hard. He was always traveling. He was always sleeping at weird times and I'd be so anxious for him to wake up.
Why is this not more popular? And almost him pounding his head against the wall, but trying everything to popularize this sport here. And I you would think with the being televised in the Goodwill Games and Craig Sager as his co-host that hey, that things are going to break. But as everybody knows, for whatever reasons, it hasn't yet.
When the USOC held its meeting to vote on the 1980 Olympic boycott, each sport was allowed to have 5 delegates attend, one of which had to be an athlete. Peter asked me to attend as the handball athlete. I attended, I listened, especially to Peter, who explained to me the ways that Olympic sport worked in a big bureaucracy, and I participated in the meeting. That one meeting, that one decision made by Peter to bring me, started me on a path of serving for over 40 years in senior positions in Olympic sport, a path I'm still on today, thanks to Peter.
Even though I wasn't that much younger than him, I saw him as a father image. He was, we took a liking to each other. And in fact, I was thinking, before I got on here, we went down to Long Branch, Jersey, Monmouth College, and we had it wasn't really a trial, but we went down there just to showcase the game down in that area. And I was thinking that Peter let me drive his car all over that's not something somebody would do. I remember just taking his car, and he had a few Cadillacs. I took one and was just driving all over the place. Gave me the keys, so we got along well.
So I wrote to Peter, found his address and wrote to him even half a year before I was going to arrive here. Said, well, perhaps they can find some way of using it. Perhaps there's something going on in the Washington area. And the amusing thing was, it sounds crazy, but before I had even really sort of signed off on all the formalities to come here then to work to make the move, I had a letter from Peter saying, congratulations, the board of the Federation has just nominated you as our new chief referee, effective the date you arrive here.
I'd like to call to the podium a first award winner of the Peter Buning Federation Award. Peter Buning, Jr.
It's a little overwhelming to stand in a room with so many handball players. And that means something, to be a handball player. We didn't just appear. We became a family, helped each other, actually began to love each other. Look at how many years have gone by, and we're all still here doing this. How Dad figured this out, better I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm grateful to receive this on my dad's behalf, but that's not why Dad did handball. Handball was a passion for him that he shared with all of us with no reservation. Didn't ask anything except for you to play. Do the best you can, be the best you can, and look at who we surround ourselves with. This is something to me that was his vision. This room of people, 40 years later, coming together to celebrate handball. Dad didn't do this for awards. It was for the love of the game. And when you sit here and look at each other and have a beer later on, think about the journey that brought us here. I played handball. Lutzy taught me how to beat Shundar when I was 13 years old, after I spent 2 years hitting Shundar in the foot. Lutzy and Kevin. Story. I was playing with the SSC. I was a gym rat. Friday night, Peter Jr., go with your father to the gym. So here I am coming out to Adelphi for my first match, like 13, 14 years old. And he goes, see that guy with the long hair over there? You got to cover him. Okay. That's Kevin Serapiti. So world-class athlete with world-class speed. Good luck. And the wars that SSC and Adelphi fought were legendary. But yet, over the time, Kevin taught me how to be a wing player. Lutzy taught me how to play the circle. And that is what we pass on to each other, that passion of helping each other in handball. Not for this, but for this. So on my dad's behalf, I thank you all very much. Keep up the good fight.
Thank you, Peter. Now we have a call in from Dr. Jim Thome, who's a longtime supporter of handball, coach of, at one time, the Ohio State team, and and also has helped Mike Cavanaugh administer all the tournaments. Thome's a good man, and there he is. Jim, you're on.
Greetings, everyone, especially Peter Jr., Jimmy, and Laszlo. I wish I would have known what everybody before me was going to say, because it kind of kills about half of my chat. But anyway, it was 1972. I was at Fort Bliss, Texas, and I was called in by my supervisor, and he said, I'm responsible for the training of 5-unit coaches and scheduling the tournament in the sport of team handball. I, like other people said, I played it at the academy, my hands swell up, and I'm a little claustrophobic. So I would prefer we'll talk tomorrow. So I took the book home, and it was incredible. It was a memorable day that I learned what this sport could be. I was fortunate in that Fort Bliss, Texas had a West German unit stationed there, and I was able to go over there, and they gave me 4 or 5 beta tapes. If you know what a beta tape is, then you're about as old as I am. And they allowed me to sit down and watch these videos of the game because the rule book was basically a direct translation of German to English, and it was really bad. So, like many of you, what we have been able to accomplish in team handball was due to the unselfish generosity of Dr. Buning. What Peter did in his life, accomplishing both personal and professional affairs with honesty, passion, dedication, to the end of his life, his love and concern was always handball. As many of you know, timeless monuments as the Lincoln Memorial, the Taj Mahal, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and the Great Pyramids were erected to memorialize great leaders. In my opinion, a plaque or a bust of Dr. Buning should be prominently displayed in our national office. Renata could have very well been America's first supporters of women's equal rights. Although I never worked directly with her, I sat in many executive committee meetings in which no actions or decisions were made without Ramada vigorously ensuring that a comparable component for the women's program was included. Now a few words about Laszlo. I guess I should start by apologizing to him, as I didn't realize he was that much older than I was when we began a friendly competition between West Point and the many teams that we coached, especially in 1993 when the Academy All-Star team, Knight Air, beat his team for the gold medal. It's probably the upset of the decade. Seriously, throughout the years, I would intently watch games that he coached in an attempt to pick up any subtle tips on how to become a more successful coach myself. Again, at Team Handball executive and annual meetings, Laszlo would be actively putting forth suggestions on how to better support our sport. He was always the strongest proponent for junior and youth development programs. Love you, Laszlo, and happy birthday. Finally, many thanks to all the planners and organizers of this incredible event. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Our next up is Rod Oshida. Rod is one of the big dogs of the United States Team Handball Foundation. Pay close attention to what Rod has to say because many of us don't know what the foundation does or what its journey has been. Rod, thanks for your work.
Yeah, I don't know about that big dog thing. Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, and it's not a big dog thing. And I have to take a moment just to explain what the foundation is, because it really, was the idea of Peter Buning after the 1984 Olympic Games. As some of you may recall, the 1984 Olympic Games was financially a very successful endeavor. At the end of those games, Peter Ubroth, who was the organizing committee member, decided that he had an extra $1 million for every federation. It was Peter's insight to take that $1 million and to set it aside and put it in a separate entity, not involve it with the operating expenses of the federation. Those funds are currently managed by the foundation. I, along with my fellow trustees that are present, Cindy Stinger and Tom Fitzgerald, as 3/5 of the organization. Rick Hurst apologizes for not being here. And then Mark Noble's down in Alabama. So the 5 of us evaluate those grants that are sent in and evaluated. And I will say that we're a pretty tight group. I think the 20 years that I've been on the foundation, we've never had a vote that has not been unanimous. So our goal is to support the sport, understanding the financial difficulties with USOC and the federation, to support the federation as well. Over the last 20 years, we've done about $1.5 million to $2 million in grants for the sport. Over the last 10 years, Cindy, I think we're about $700,000 in that neighborhood. Because of the situation with the Olympic Committee, the last 10 years, we've been primarily responsible for supporting the national teams in their trips, their travels. In addition to the national teams, we've also supported the referees, the club program, the beach, and the referees as well. So our sole focus is to do whatever we can do to inject, additional momentum, to reward those that are putting forth the effort, like the kids who are putting together the club tournaments and stuff. Let's help them out a little bit and make the job a little bit easier for them. We appreciate everyone being here today. Again, I want to shout out to AHA. This is our second sponsorship of a 2-year program for this event. And if it builds up as much as it did from last year to this year, very much look forward to it. So congratulations to those that are being on here tonight. And thanks for all your attendance and your support for the foundation. Thank you.
Only 2028 Olympian that's here right now.
Yeah, Max, after watching you play earlier today, I'm not sure about that. But
There's not a lot of 5'8", 160 Jewish Olympians here. But I want to be the first one. And to do that, folks, we need something from you all. And we need those donations. AHA.games. There's a big button on there. It says PayPal donate. And we need you to click it.
Hit it hard. Max needs all the help he can get. Trust me.
The weight room costs some money. Private training costs some money. And frankly, I need way more than most.
Yes, absolutely.
Look at me.
Yeah, and if you were out there today, you would have seen it firsthand. Max does not have what it takes right now. But 7 years from now, who knows?
But that's the key, JD. You say right now, 7 years. I work out every single day till then, and we get a few $1 million from you great folks. Suddenly, we're looking at a gold medal, our first ever.
Plain and simple. So make sure to hit that button. We're looking for more donations. Get your checks ready to rock and roll, and we'll keep going.
Wait, JD, we have had such a great night so far. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And I also want to give a shout out to the chef. We had such a great dinner. We had bread and butter on the table.
It's delicious.
We had broccoli. We had twice baked potatoes. And for all the Olympians here, we had your past your prime rib. And there is nothing better than that. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Well, thank you, Max and JD. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Bob Djokovic. Bob's the captain of the '84 Olympic team, past president of USA Team Handball in 2000 to 2004, and a great competitor and a great friend of mine. Bobby.
My name's Bob Djokovic, father and model. And I want to introduce the next speaker. The next speaker is a relatively new member to the handball family. I want us to all welcome him, and I invite him to groom the next generation of athletes that will be here in 40 years, where the '84 team will be here in mass. Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of USA Team Handball, Ryan Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm truly honored to be here. It's a tremendous honor to be able to travel anywhere again. Great to see full faces. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come. A lot of people, you ask them what they're doing, and a common response, well, I'm living the dream, right? And that truly applies to me and has for the last 10 years, but even more so now. A little bit about me. I grew up in Colorado Springs. That's hometown for me. Olympic City, USA, which is kind of a new moniker for the city, but it's always been that way to me. I remember leading into the '96 games, the Olympic torch went through Colorado Springs. My parents took us downtown and with my brother and sister, and we got to see the torch go by on the back of a bike. Mike Leonard probably put it on there. But getting to see that torch in person truly lit a flame in me, and I remember watching the games, and of course, MJ, Michael Jordan, was the biggest star in the world, but the MJ that truly got my attention was Michael Johnson and those gold shoes. And man, I wanted to be fast so bad, but that wasn't in the cards to me. I grew up a wrestler, wrestled in college, and didn't really know what I was going to do after college, and had an opportunity after I graduated to work for USA Wrestling back in my hometown, and now working in the Olympic movement. And in 2016 was blessed with the privilege. I was awarded an opportunity by the U.S. Olympic Committee to go to ancient Olympia in Greece and represent the U.S. at an international conference. And I got to stand in the palestra in my wrestling stance. That's the ancient wrestling training room they had there for wrestlers and boxers in ancient Olympia. And then later that summer, leading USA Wrestling's hospitality program, got to be in Brazil and see the Olympic Games in person. One of the things that really drew me to this position and this opportunity is that handball wasn't there in 2016, right? And being an Olympian is so special and so unique, and that's what we're here for, right? It's a great opportunity for U.S. athletes to live that dream, to become an Olympian, and to join the ranks of so many. Had an opportunity to compete on the world stage as U.S. Olympians. So,
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. I would now like to introduce I would now like to introduce one of my good buddies, Cindy Stinger, to talk a little bit about Renata Buning.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Cindy Stinger, and I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me to make this very special presentation to a very special individual who at one time or another affected each and every person in this room. Everybody in this room was affected by Renata Buning at some point. You know the old saying that behind every great man is a great woman. Well, we honor Peter and Renata, and you know you don't get one without the other. How appropriate to recognize the legacy of these amazing pioneers at the beautiful Swim and Sports Club, a place that helped young athletes dream and play without a care in the world. Renata Buning was an incredible woman, an incredible wife, mom, grandmom, great-grandmom, executive, and team handball advocate. Let me repeat that. Renata Buning was an incredible woman, wife, mom, executive, and team handball advocate. My fondest memories of Renata was her passion for keeping us all together as a group when we would travel somewhere, anywhere. Like a mother hen, she would keep us all close so that we wouldn't stray too far off. Not an easy task for the group of athletes and teammates I had. And I'm going to talk about one moment in time when we had just landed in Paris, one of the busiest airports in the world, and we were allowed to disembark to stretch our legs, which is something very difficult to imagine today, until the plane reboarded and continued on our destination. Anyway, we all made it back on board with the exception of two teammates, Melinda and Bev. Well, they strayed off somewhere. And let me tell you, Renata was pissed. She was absolutely beside herself. You can imagine, we're in the busiest airport, Charles de Gaulle, and we're taking off and we're missing two players. And here's the thing, like, I never really heard where Melinda and Bev went or what they were doing, but we actually have Melinda here today. So I want to put her on the spot and stand up. Come on, Melinda. We need to hear what was going on.
Where are you, Melinda?
Come on, I want to hear.
All right. Well, I wish I had a better story.
You wish you...
And I'm really, really glad that Renata liked us.
How long have you been?
How long has it been?
Oh, God, that was in like the 80s.
Yeah. Oh.
It's
longer
a long,
than that.
it's a long
even.
time.
Yeah. It was
So where the hell were you?
We were sitting on another plane. On another satellite, and we heard our names and we said, that's English, that's in English, that's us. And when we got back, oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah. She wasn't not happy.
You're on another plane.
Yeah.
Without your team. Without Renata.
We were wondering where everybody else was.
So you can imagine that Renata, with the force of God, held this plane up and said, "We aren't going anywhere until all of my ladies are back on board." And of course, we were laughing when they came back on board, but Renata was not. And here's the kicker. So once we got in the air, I remember that she dug into those chocolates, you know, the kind with the alcohol in them. Like this kind, right here. But there were alcohol in them. And she ate so many of these chocolates that we all knew that she was buzzed. We're just like, oh my God, Renata is just back there eating all those chocolates. And it was crazy. But I remember we had a really good laugh about that. You know, Renata was the glue that kept us all together and on track. And during our quest to the 1980 Olympic Games, which I still have a hard time saying, and then on to the 1984 Olympic Games in LA, she was always there, our biggest cheerleader and our biggest critic. She honestly, Javier, could have coached our team. I mean, she could have coached our teams through the years for sure. She screamed so loud from the bench that you couldn't help but take notice. And most of her yells were constructive, and some were simply, "Get her out of the game!" I mean, or "Shoot the ball, Sam! Shoot the ball, Sam!" I mean, she was unbelievable. Either way, she was a part of us, and we were better off because of her. You know, Renata served as the chef de mission for the 1988 Olympic teams in Seoul, Korea. And the chef isn't cooking dinner. The chef is a person who leads the international delegation, and including the athletes and the coaches and all the other behind-the-scenes team members at an international competition. It's an incredible honor to be the chef de mission for any Olympic team, and she did it better than anyone. Renata was Team Handball's permanent chef de mission, and again, we were all better off for having her in our lives. Renata Buning is Team Handball, and she, along with Peter, introduced all of us to a sport that defined and paved a way in all of our young lives like nothing else. We are all so proud to be a part of this sport, and that's evidenced today with so many of you coming to honor these great founders. So Renata was exemplary in her work to pursue excellence, to lead courageously, to serve others, and to foster belonging. Inspiring and uniting all of us is now our mission and our vision and our collective responsibility. Did you hear that, Ryan? It's all of our responsibility to work tirelessly to bring this sport to a level that it deserves. So thank you, Renata. I hope you're looking down. Chocolates in one hand, those chocolates, and a cigarette in the other. And I hope you're enjoying our heartfelt outpouring of love for you, because you deserve it. We will always cherish our time together and the memories that we shared. So, now, let's look back. I can't wait to see this video. Let's look back and see a little bit about this wonderful woman that we honor tonight.
but the one who was really needed to get him saying, Peter, you cannot do that. Peter, you have to watch out, people are watching you, and so on, was always Renate. Astute sort of enough, and more, I think in some situations, political enough that she could see how things would go if he had his way in doing what he was up to.
Mom was the second woman president of the Swimming Sports Club, and she turned it from a loss to a profit business. She ran a business. She didn't play games. Well, I'm not here to make you happy. We are here to turn this thing around.
You know how when you may go to college and don't understand something, and 10 years later you fully understand what they were trying to tell you? That's pretty much how I saw Renata. She was very caring, but pretty raw, pretty blunt. If she hurt your feelings, she just hurt your feelings.
One of my first Federation training camps ever given to me, right out where I was the head coach, was a women's tryout here in Colorado Springs. So Renata was there, kept to a chair on the sidelines, and if she had something to say to correct you, she would ready to say it. If she didn't have anything to say, you knew you were good. And she always called me Michael.
My mom was a character, let me say. I mean, as I look back, I wouldn't say that as a kid. I was kind of, like all German moms, she was strong-willed and strong. And she was raised as a single child, so she didn't get everything she wanted when she was a kid. She had to earn it. My grandfather used to tell us the story about how if you want to go drive a car, you're going to change a tire before you're going to be able to drive the car. And at least she had a big old Cadillac, and she had to change the tire before she left the house, or she was never driving the car alone.
I was playing in the National Sports Festival. I was playing wing defense, and Renata was standing near me on the team bench, sideline to watch the game. After making a side wrist pass, the player I was guarding reached up and slapped me in the face. Not very hard, clearly tried to provoke me, but slapped me nonetheless. I was shocked. And as I started to take some action in response, Renata yelled out from the sideline, "Don't hurt him now, Michael. The referees are watching. Hurt him later. Hurt him later."
She just was on me, and she would not let me, she just kind of gave me the confidence, or just, kept pushing me. Come on, let's go. And, listen, I had bad matches, and it's, and everybody, come on, Fritzy, what are you doing? God damn it, Fritzy. That was her favorite saying whenever I'd miss an easy shot. God damn it, Fritzy. And I'm sure she's used that in other scenarios.
She was an amazing referee. The boys were crazy at times, really. So she was patient. She was smart. She said it like it was. A lot of times things came out of her mouth which were like, oh my God, but that was her. So I understood why she was so up in our business after I had a child.
So Renata Buning raised 4 wonderful children, and at this time it is my distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure to invite Susan and Jimmy to come forward and accept the Founders Award on behalf of their mom, our mom, Renata Buning.
Great speech. You killed me. You took everything.
I'll just take my seat.
Well, apparently, I'm not a very good spokesman here. Where's my loving sister? There she is.
Just holding his arm. That's it.
I learned a couple things from Renata. Basically, call people out. Kirk, shut up. Okay? All right. Keep it down in the back. But I do have a couple words that Cindy didn't steal.
I don't know if anybody knows, this is my sister Susan, 84, volunteer at the Olympics. I think a lot of you guys from my teammates over here from the 84 games met her at that time, probably previously before that. But I wanted to welcome everybody here. This is a great honor for us as a family and as a community to have everybody together to honor my parents on the same day, which is difficult, and then the legend Laszlo. But here at the SSC, it's important that we have had so many great handball experiences here. We have international competitions with a deaf team that Mike coached at times, from teams from Scotland. We've had Gummersbach here. We had Romania here prior to the 76 Olympics. The SSC has a long history. Dennis lost Kevin Serapiti here before the 76 games. He just disappeared after the game, and he had to be up there in Lake Placid or wherever you were meeting in Plattsburgh to get the uniforms. And Dennis, a couple times, decided this would be a good time that I don't say, this is the last time. All right, I am leaving now. The whole team is leaving, Kevin, yelling up towards the bungalows. And he said, look, if you're not there by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, you're not on the team anymore. But that was the fourth time you gave him an ultimatum. So a lot of things have happened here at the SSC. And I'm just very proud to receive this and honored to we are very proud and honored to receive this award in front of you guys. My mom would love to have been here and to see the outpouring of love and affection for Team Handball that obviously she instilled and our family has. She didn't do it for the accolades, as my dad didn't, but she had to help my dad behind the scenes because there was a lot of stuff to do in the early years. She did all the accounting, all the bookkeeping before we expanded as an organization. Behind every great man is a strong woman, and she was a strong woman. I can tell you some stories up here like, God damn it, Peter, put JR in. Then my father goes, how could I put JR in? The gym was quiet. Everybody heard it. They'd all think that Renato was coaching the team. Okay, so he had to wait 3 minutes before he could put JR in. So everybody has a Renata story. I'm sure Pam has a million of them. So we'll reach out to each other. Tell your kids about it. Tell everybody tonight. Extend those ideas and stories. And remember Renata, because she remembers you right now. And she had the best time. You women, you were her life, I tell you. She really loved you guys. And all of you have gone to places that, actually everybody in handball has gone to a higher level than any other athletes I know. And we've aged very well, I believe, too. And I attribute that to Team Handball and good love and good support. So God bless Renata. All right. Thank you.
Cindy, outstanding job. Really professional. By way of disclaimer, 3 days ago I had a tube down my throat, surgical procedure. So it sounds a little rough. It sounds more rough to me than it does to you. Also by way of disclaimer, I've been told to compress as much as possible because we've doubled Steve Kirk's attention span. Last disclaimer was when the family writes notes for you, that you better get them right. And I want to do this properly. Jan, I'd like you to sit down for a few minutes here, and you can critique this later. Born and raised on a dairy farm in upstate New York, had a BA from Tufts in government history and a JD from St. John's. She passed the New York State Bar in '63 at a time when not many women did. I don't know why. Moving along in the chronology here. Don and Jan were married in Steve, God help us. Don and Jan were married in 1960. Theirs was a love affair and true partnership. It's been an inspiration to so many. God dang it. Their unwavering support for each other's pursuits and their complete dedication to each other have made them the role model for multiple generations. Am I off the hook a little bit? Okay, Peggy, Sarah, Jeremy, Teresa, and Danny were all children. Nephews with us tonight, Tim and Mitch, grew up in Long Island. Jan began her sport officiating career as the kids were growing. Pretty amazing. I learned some stuff here. She officiated soccer, volleyball, field hockey, softball, track and field into her seventh decade. In the mid-1970s, Jan was the first woman to referee a high school varsity football game in Long Island. She did that for about 10 years. Fiercely dedicated to family and extended family, reunions are 3-day events, and this year will be the 50th reunion. She discovered handball with Don through North Babylon High School, Fitzgerald's, later through Laszlo and his club. Don and Jan were men's national team and women's national team resident managers, respectively. In 95 and 96, they were Olympic team and Pan Am game team managers. She was chair of the membership committee for USA Team Handball, long serving. Set categories, recommended fees and levels, set policies, and made recommendations to the board. National championships, multiple hats. She did both the open and collegiate championships. She's registration director, site selection committee, technical and disciplinary committees. She was the first one in and last one out. One little anecdote I'll share is all 5'2" of her. Is that right? I saw her stand in center court with 2 large referees, a coach and a player, and say, "This match doesn't start until this player from from this club, pays their membership fee." She was also the team handball drug czar with the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. She was what's called our doping site coordinator. She set up all the testing and the protocols, and I always knew it'll be done right, and we always got glowing reports. Of course, I had to deal with the positives, but we always got glowing reports from Jan. Also, at a time when you have a small national staff, you look for people that you can call upon. She was our director of Safe Sport with the U.S. Center of Safe Sport. This is following the gymnastics controversy, and all the sports were required, mandated to implement policies for training and certification. That was another one in her corner. Again, I would give her the assignment. She'd ask a few questions, and it was done. Most recently, she's a commissioner, and now later became the co-commissioner of the Northeast Team Handball League. Started from scratch, directed all aspects, and was a avenue of creating competition for men's and women's teams at various levels. I'm almost done. Just a quote. It's too long a quote and I won't get through it, but it's my pleasure to work with her for nearly 3 decades. Whenever I'd ask her an assignment, she would accept it. Few questions, needed a little guidance, always performed the task, exceptional level. She never sought attention and praise or center stage, was always willing to stand up for fairness and what was right. No detail escaped her, and no job was too little or too small. If you wanted something done on time in a professional manner, Jan was the go-to person. She was quick to point out weaknesses and equally quick to suggest thoughtful solutions. Selfless, trustworthy, loyal, passionate, reliable, my friend. Jan O'Shea. You're speaking?
Yes.
Okay. I'll introduce you.
Yes.
Jeremy, her daughter, is going to say a few words.
So this is a speech my mom sent me. So here it goes. I am speechless. So I put my thoughts on paper and will let somebody read them. Through my husband Don and my son Danny, I became a handball fan. They're passed away, and I'm still here. I've been extremely fortunate to get to know so many people from different backgrounds and from different places around the world. Without handball, my life would have been very different and much more provincial. By working with so many players, young and old, I have received many blessings. Thank you all for the more than 35 years of experience I never could have imagined. Thank you.
Mark, am I correct now? We go to a phone call? He's asking me to stretch. Okay, we have on the line with us is first of all, it's a humbling experience to have an award named after you. Last year was the first one. It was Stretch Some More? Stretch Some More. Okay, Ray Gerke was the winner of the first Cavi Award, and Ray is with us. Ray, you're in the San Francisco Bay Area. If you remember 1 year ago, we had you on the spotlight. Now we welcome you to share words here with the handball family.
Hi, Mike, Jan, everybody. This is Ray Gerke from Fremont, California. I'm a director and coach for the Centerville Team Handball Club, and I'm a proud recipient of last year's award, and it's for my youth program, which I had the largest in the United States. But I heard about this event honoring Jan O'Shea, so I'm calling to congratulate you, Jan. Jan, you will always be remembered for your extensive hard work for this sport. I'm sure I can speak for everyone in the Federation when I say thank you for the dedication to Team Handball. People like you are hard to find, difficult to part with, and impossible to forget. Best wishes as you start your new chapter of your life. But Jan, you've got to watch out. I've been retired for 12 years, and there's no such thing as retirement for people like you and me. 3 nights a week, I still have been opening up the gym for the Cal Heat. So my wife says you've never retired. I would like to, again, congratulate Jan and invite everybody out to California. We're starting up our handball again. And the Cal Heat, which uses my gym, would like some of your teams to come out and participate in their tournament in January. Looking forward to meeting everybody. Again, Jan, congratulations on your award. And also, last 90 years,
You go around this side. Well, let's inject some energy here.
Goodness gracious.
So, JD, here's our first aha moment together.
It's been quite the time, and who would have thought when we started planning this so long ago that we'd end up here at the birthplace of handball in America, SSC, and this event's coming together quite well. I mean, we really do make quite the unlikely pair. I mean, I'm from the Midwest.
And I'm from California, artsy type.
I'm more of project focused, get the job done kind of person.
He's a Republican.
He's a Democrat.
He's a goalie.
And he's a pivot. I mean, was a pivot. So
Was a circle runner.
Semantics.
Let's see, what other differences do we have?
I have a red beard.
And you mean red hair?
Red hair.
You blew your line already. And my hair used to be brown. Anyway, we just want to, hey, where's the drum when I need them? We just want to welcome you to this second Handball Heroes event and sort of the official coming out party of American Handball Associates, something that JD and I have been working on for a year. And it's not just legacy events like this. Tell us about what's going on in the Midwest.
Yeah, one of our next projects is trying to launch a Midwest Collegiate League, so we'll be getting a lot more information about that soon. We've been working very closely with USA Team Handball to get that ready to rock and roll. We will also be doing a lot of video press releases for our upcoming Women's World Championship qualifier in Elgin, Illinois this August, so stay tuned for that.
We're just here to raise the consciousness, to point out that we're here. And the key to American Handball Associates, I begrudgingly say, is JD, youth. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of old guys hanging around drinking, telling stories.
It's all fun.
But JD has the future in mind, and we can tell him what not to do.
Yeah.
But one of the other projects that we're working on, and I think some of you are aware of it, is the film Army Champs that we've been working on now for 5 years. I traveled America in 2019 shooting interviews with the guys who were on that 72 team, most of them soldiers. And we'd like to announce, in light of that project, that we hope to have Handball Heroes II. As I go back and look at my Roman numeral books to make sure I'm getting this right, Handball Heroes 3 we'd like to stage next year in Elkhart, Indiana, to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Pan American qualifications that sent the Army Champs team to Munich. And we've done a little bit of research with the community in Elkhart. As far as we know, the biggest crowd that ever gathered to watch a handball game other than Olympic and international competitions was at the Northside Gym in Elkhart for those Pan American qualifications. So we want to commemorate that. And with that Army Champs theme in mind, I'd like to bring up a very special friend now, one of the original Army Champs. Let's hear it for Vinny DiCollegiero. My fellow circle runner.
Hey, what we have here tonight is Handball Family. This is the best handball family. And I haven't had a gathering like this ever. And we all recognize that. I'm here to give you some thoughts about a very dear friend, Shandor. Okay? And I'm a fitting person to do this. Just recently, I lost my wife. And Steve Kirk reached out to me. posted a message and said, circle runner to circle runner, sometimes life is truly a struggle. Made me feel good because it was Handball family reaching out to me. Well, Shandor, known as the King, he's not our only goalie who's gone. When we started with Shandor, and we started with Elmer Eades. Excuse me, Fat Ellie. And Ellie was outstanding. I think Ellie probably was our lead goalie in '72, Shandor right behind him. But we also had two other goalies in training, Al Handel and Steve Valentine. All four of them are gone. All four of them are gone. All four of them are gone. Well, I guess I'm glad I didn't decide to be a goalie either. Just a circle runner. Maybe a dump truck circle runner. Tough. Well, I am honored to know the King. And, of course, the King comes through Laszlo. And Laszlo and the King from Hungary. What was the King? Oh, he was fast. He was quick. And he had a sense about himself that nobody ever had. He would refer to all of us as his sons. Oh, Jesus, my sons. We were all hooligans. His life was to travel around the world. He was not a worker. As he referred to himself, he was a sportsman. The King worked to play handball and to travel the world. And everybody who met the King truly loved him. He had a feel when he was there for the ball. And before he started playing, if he didn't feel the ball, he asked you to throw it at his head. Hit me! Hit me! I need to feel the ball. Well, my introduction, of course, is through Laszlo. And we'll talk about Laszlo next. But the cute little story is my first big event in handball was the '71 Nationals down in New Jersey. And it wound up, as it usually did, Adelphi, the Army team. Well, Pete wanted to win very badly that year. He flew in, I think I remember it was Eustachius Ford, 6'7", 6'8". Oh, my Lord, what an Adonis. Oh, and could he throw. He flew in the great Rico. Everybody knows Rico. Susie said she had a crush on Rico since she was 4 years old. Our response was, we all had a crush on Rico. We all loved him. She wasn't the only one. Pete flew everybody in. And the game was nip and tuck, tight, tight, tight. Till toward the end, Ford had a jump shot. And I think Shandor blocked it with his forehead. Or Ford may have thrown at his head. Either way, the King went berserk. And he stopped everything. No shot got by him. He's diving. He's flying all over the place. He was truly, truly the King. And he helped Adelphi win another national championship. That is my King. Do we have a video on the King? Shandor! Shandor!
Budapest, maybe 80 kilometers, and I was starting handball, but really very, not early, but very late age, 22 years old. I saw a Hungarian, I was in the bus, came from work, and this gentleman, he was the Hungarian goalkeeper, Grosic. And I see him, how he was elegant in the Honvéd Budapest, that was a sport club. And he said, you can start anytime, when you wanted to. We are practicing 2 times and we have games Sundays. So, and I went down and, I was playing a couple of times in Honvéd Budapest, but mostly indoor sport, because the handball is also indoor sport, right? I told one of my Hungarian friends, poor guy who died, he said, why you wanted to the farm? Because first of all, I didn't want to go to Australia, Canada, because far away from communism. I said, you guys, you are stupid. Let's go, where is the dollar? So I'm still looking for the dollar. So that's the reason I came to America. These Europeans, they were practicing 2 times a day. We practice, once a month maybe. And that is not practice enough. So you cannot be, that got great player without practice. You have to practice. How can I get to the Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice.
You know that old joke.
Yeah, of course. And they were leading by 2 or 3 goals, and after we came back and we beat them by 2 goals, 22-20. I never forget. 2 goals. That was great. And they were those days number 10 in the world. That was pretty good. It was pretty good. So we were very happy, or I was very happy. Not myself only, but for the whole team. The guys playing, very, very good. Colleagues, my teammates, good people, mentally, physically, spiritually, they are very good people. And, they were invite me to these parties, everything. We're not supposed to parties, but we did parties a couple of times. And the guys, they did. We like each other, I think so. We love each other, yeah. That is a good memory. That is a good memory. Never forget, never forget. 2 Olympics, 1 World Cup,
Johnny. I'd now like to start the discussion on the 3rd Founder Award here. My dear, dear father, Laszlo. Doesn't have to be Laszlo Yurak, it's Laszlo. Or Laz, okay? Like many of us, we were introduced to handball by Laz. How many here were introduced to handball by Laz? Stand up. Don't raise your hand. Stand. Because we stand for Laz. Stand for Laz. And Laz told me that, come on down. I think you might like this sport. And if you like it, we go travel the world. Well, he was right. And truly, handball started in Belvoir with the first national team being put together. And he promoted me to Pete, and I was invited to come down. And Laszlo was training me, and we were working, and he told me I was a very good center back. Well, I come into Belvoir. Laszlo calls me up and says, like anything, the trials are on tomorrow. Be at Belvoir. Okay, no problem. I pop into Belvoir. I see Berkey, Dennis Burkholz. I refer to him just as Berkey. He looks at me and he goes, center back. Go play the circle. And it was my first time playing the circle. And I said, yes. I met what I was looking for. And the circle and I became one. I loved it. Well, he introduced handball to so many of us. Many of us, Adelphi Olympians, Adelphi national teams players. And he would refer to us, this is the best. You stupid shit. You so ugly. You so ugly, I cannot help you. That's my Laz. But if you could play, and if you played, Laszlo stood beside you, he stood with you, and he helped you reach whatever your goal was. And my goal was to reach the Olympics. It was a dream. And with everybody here in the handball family, I did it twice. No one now is taking better care or watching over our laws than our good friend, Billy Harrison. Now, maybe you know him as Billy Harrison, depending upon where you are in life, or maybe you know him as Harry. I'd like Harry to talk a little bit about laws now.
I'm so happy to be here. Congratulations to both the Bunings, Renata, Peter, and to Jan O'Shea. It's my pleasure to have known all of you, and I thank you for your friendship and everything. I had the pleasure of meeting Laszlo in 1974. I was a 17-year-old, cocky high school kid. He was 43, and I thought he was so goddamn old. He's now 90 years old, and thanks to New York State, he still has a driver's license. So, I got stories about that. So Laszlo, when we first met him, I was recruited from a friend of mine who was a tennis player, and he said, play handball. Laszlo said, play handball and see the world. So here we are in Roxbury, New Jersey. Thank you. He's 90 years old, and, I love him like a old brother. But I thank him for everything he's done for me, because without Laszlo, I wouldn't know anybody in this room. You think about it, 90% of the people in this room I wouldn't know without Laszlo and the great sport of handball. And quite frankly, it's a blessing to me. It might be a curse to most of you, but that's the way it is. He never asked for anything but loyalty. And the loyalty was show up, practice hard, play hard, and we're going to go to tournaments, we're going to have fun, and we did. And that's all he asked for. He put out a lot of money out of his own pocket back in the early days. We used to go to West Point, and they go, you can't get on the court until you pay the $45 fee, and Laszlo would reach in his pocket, and we'd all be, we'd all be tying our shoes, looking the other way, because, hey, that's $5 out of my pocket. Let Laz pay the $45. So, I mean, he did it all. Without this man, being on Long Island, he was constantly recruiting. It was, let's find gym time. Let's find players. And through his coaching and his teaching at Adelphi and at a Waldorf school, he recruited countless athletes. And he found so many Olympic athletes that became Olympians, and you can't count the number on one hand, two hands, how many guys that Laszlo found, recruited, and trained and had made the Olympics from 72, 76, 84, 88, 92, maybe not 92, 96. It goes on and on. And, and to this day, at 90 years old, he's still looking to recruit and find gym time. And, it's absolutely incredible. It's kept him going all these years. But I think I can speak for all my teammates, past, present, living, dead. Thank you. Thank you for everything we've done. The fact that I know 90% of the people in this room is because of you. And it might be a curse to most of those people, but to me it's a blessing that I know these people. So all I want to say is thank you for bringing the sport to America and helping everybody play the game and become friends and hang out and have some fun. And, you know, we avoid arrests. But I can say, I know I can say, on behalf of my friends, my teammates, thank you. We love you. I love you like I said, an older brother. Thank you. God bless. So I'd like to introduce Laszlo to accept the final Founders Award. Gotta get him up here alive. Gotta get him up here one piece, Vin. Don't triple, Pat. Don't triple. Laszlo, the ultimate hustler, always trying to recruit guys, says, Gerard, bring some guys down. Get some guys from your classes, bring them down. So Gerard recruited myself and 2 others, and the 4 of us showed up at a practice at Adelphi University our senior year, 1974, probably November. And, you know, we just went in there not knowing anything about the game, and there was Laszlo, a guy we could barely understand.
I can remember we were West Point tournament. I remember West Point tournament. Let's go to the West Point tournament. And Peter and Laszlo had a red Volkswagen stick car. Now, I've never driven a stick car really in my life. That was never my thing. But Laszlo had me drive up to West Point in the snow, I mind you. I'm telling you, it's snowing. I mean, it's coming down. I just had to keep the car in 3rd gear all the time, just about, while he was sitting in the back getting some rest. And I'm trying to fight the windshield wipers and going, and I'm telling you. But what I did for Laszlo and what he did for me, I have to say that he was one of the nicest, kindest person I know.
The thing about Laszlo is there was no monetary gain for all his efforts. His effort was he put guys on the Olympic team. He won national championships as a coach, as a player. But mainly, his main thing is he just liked the loyalty. You know, everybody was loyal to him, and you know, he's gotten such a return from it. And being a school teacher, he's got that, you know, where kids come back, former students, and they all love him. But you know, it's the same thing with the players. He's, you know, people respect him, and basically he's just never slowed down on the whole sport itself.
Laszlo's so happy-go-lucky. Anytime Laszlo's around, you get that smile, you get that good feeling, because he's gonna tell some good jokes. He just had a good demeanor. He gonna tell some good jokes. What he say gonna make sense. He gonna keep it real. He knew his handball.
If you measure from the apex, and that's from the Olympic Games and how many Olympians he's produced and how many national champions he's produced and several Olympic festivals, all could be traced directly back to Laszlo. So I say that with all due respect, because you can't deny that, and you cannot deny his lasting ability and his ability to recruit over decades.
Despite your well-earned mythology, you in fact did not win every game you ever coached, at least not against me. Win or lose, Laz took great pride in the accomplishments of his team. But for Laz, his team meant much more than the team he was coaching. It was the national team players playing against him. It was the up-and-coming talent he would spot, reach out to, and encourage. And it was Laz providing us national team players, but only after the game was over, of course, playing tips from the vast wealth of his experience.
Laszlo kept everything happy, upbeat, and he would chew our ass, but he'd laugh when he was doing it. You know, how bad we were, and how we were going to get better, and how we'd go out and drink cherry herring after every game. him, and that was Laza, because he was not only my coach but my mentor and a really good friend for life. He had a lot of influence on me.
So as I started to say, in 1956 was a big turn in my life. I don't know if you all know, it was the Hungarian Revolution against Russia. And I had to choose stay in a communist country or come for my freedom. So I choose the United States. The first day I came, I was very, very sad. Not because I lost my parents, but I lost all my friends, my teammates, and first couple of days I didn't find myself. I looked for everyone, and finally I find a club, the New York Hungarians, and I asked them, please let me work. I played handball and basketball at home. Let me coach a team. He said, okay, Laszlo, here is a team. It was a soccer team. I said, okay, I didn't ask for soccer, but I tried to coach that team too. And the first game was SSC over here. And I had like half of my team United States American high school players, basketball players. And how did it happen? We won the tournament. That was the start. And since then on, as team handball developed and became a little bit bigger, SSC always helped us. The Burnings was the mainstay, which really sacrificed lots of money and to promote the handball, and I was really thankful for that. And I hope, that the SSC, as it shows now, still helping team handball, and hopefully we are going to be diverse and be a little bit of it, or we pay back the support what we get from them. But I would like to thank SSC for all the support what it gave from team handball. Thank you.
Birthday cake.
We're reel it out.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Laszlo. Happy birthday to you. Yeah. Well, congratulations, Laszlo. We love you like a brother. And now, from Salem, Oregon, unfortunately could not be here tonight, a 1972 and a 1976 Olympian, and a true American badass, Kevin Serapiti has a few words to the coach, to the myth, to the legend, Laszlo Jurak. Kevin Serapiti. Louder.
Can't hear me?
He's got two closets. That fucking guy's got two closets.
Can you hear me? Okay. So, Laszlo, the first thing he said to me after he saw me play handball, "You so dumb, I don't believe it." But I was coaching a track team, helping out with the javelin for the Delphi track team, and afterwards I was playing some pickup basketball. Laszlo approached me and goes, "What are you doing Friday night?" And I couldn't figure out if I was supposed to help him hold up a gas station or to show up at the gym. So that was my introduction to Laszlo. But let me circle back. It's great to see all the Bunings. I haven't seen you guys in forever, even though I did see Jimmy down in Reno and Pete at our last reunion. I do have a great story about SSC. Back, I think, in the mid-'60s, mid-'70s, they always gave out a beautiful crystal boot to the winning team of the SSC tournament. And so the year that I was supposed to get the trophy, because occasionally a Delphi would rotate who would get the trophy, they switched from the crystal boot to a traditional trophy, a nice big one with wood and a handball player on top. It was beautiful. But we really wanted that crystal boot. The boot was the thing. So after quite a few Dinkalockers, we approached the Canadian team who finished second, and they got the boot. And we decided we would have a nice conversation, a few more Dinkalockers, and try to convince them that they could go home with a first place trophy if we could get the boot. And here is the SSC boot that I treasure to this day. And I fill up with my good friends. The reason my house is so sparse and I don't have the boot here, we're moving next week, so everything's in a box. So congratulations to SSC. I do want to, thank Peter and Renata. Everything's been said about them. We know how much they've both sacrificed. And, the children sacrificed too because their parents weren't there. Renata was tough. I won't repeat what she told me a few times. But up until the end, we communicated by regular mail frequently, and I still have her letters. So, two great people. We really appreciate it. As far as Laszlo goes, the Hungarian connection. You can't forget about Sándor nor Eliides without thinking about, the leader of the pack, Laszlo. So after one of the first games I played with the Delphi, it's halftime, and the three Hungarians going back and forth. And Elmer Edis spoke, really good English. So after it all happened, I said, "Ellie, what was that about? What's the strategy for the second half?" And he told me really what transpired there. That Hungarians were very creative in cursing each other out. And that's the only thing that I learned at that point in time. But Laz, we love you. You've done, as everybody said, you've done so much for all of your players. You were the guy who found us, developed us, encouraged us to go forward and to work hard. It's been a great experience knowing you. And there's lots of coaches out there who could learn a lot from you because you put the players first, and then the players seem to deliver for you. A lot of coaches do it the other way around, and maybe it doesn't work out so well that way. So my apologies for not being there. We'll speak soon. I wish I could have been there with all you folks. I haven't seen many of you in so long a time. It's great to see you all there. Congratulations to Peter, to Renata for their awards, for Jan Jose for her award, and Laz, of course, for yours. Thanks for everything. God bless you all. And goodbye from Bend, Oregon. It's not snowing today. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Wow, Max, talk about quite the evening, wouldn't you say? A lot of history in here.
Kevin Serpini, 2 closets.
Oh.
Big shot.
Pause.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Anyways, man, Max, what an evening. Talk about a lot of history in here.
You know, JD, there was so much history here, also so much beer, and you know that's what I care about.
That's true. Thank you guys for tuning in for all the festivities this evening. Make sure to continue to contribute. And Max, what do you got to say to our viewers?
You know, folks, and if we could quiet down here for a second. You know, this was such a great evening, and thank you, everyone. But it got me thinking, right? It got me thinking, if I'm drunk tonight, then all of you got to be drunk too, right? And if all of you are drunk, you won't care how much you donate. You'll wake up tomorrow, you check your checking account, and not enough spent. We need you all. Open your checkbooks. You're drunk. It's all good. Donate, AHA.games, but just make sure, don't put it in my name. JD Orr.
I'll take the check.
His credit card number, I don't know what it is. Make sure to ask him. Donate to the AHA. Help me get to 2028. Help us all to get to 2028, 2036. I can't do math, whatever +4 after that is. Get us there. Yeah. Help us out so much. Thank you so much for a great night.
Hey, don't be stingy. Hit that button just like you're going to hit somebody on a fast break.
And you know, that is a very goalie thing to say. And I'd like to raise my beer to everyone here. Cheers.
Bring us home, Dennis.
Thank you all so much. Bring us home, Dennis.
They are right. The camera adds 15 pounds. You're enormous.
You call me fat?
Yeah.
Dennis.
Yeah, he's usually pretty
Susie.
good. I've seen him at like funerals, his son's funeral. You know.
My name's Craig Gilbert, 1984 Olympian. I'm honored to be here tonight. I'm an SSC member. I'm a member of the New York Athletic Club, and I am a byproduct of the Army Champs program. I have been heavily influenced by you, Jan, you, Laszlo, and the two up in heaven right now, or wherever they may be. And on behalf of the New York Athletic Club, which happens to be the first athletic club in the United States, I'm honored to give you, Jan, and Laszlo, and Peter, as the patriarch of the Bunig family, a New York Athletic Club mug. In addition, for everyone that came tonight, on behalf of the United States Olympians and Paralympians Association, that I am a chapter president of, and a board member, and also with assistance from Cindy Stinger, a hat from the United States Olympians and Paralympians. So everyone go over there to the table and please pick one up at the end. Thank you all for being here.
Okay, that concludes our program. Thanks to the American Handball Associates and everybody for coming. Hope to see you all next year.
I forgot. So this is my daughter almost 4 days ago. Yeah. Kansas State.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
When was she there?
She graduated in 2017.
What did she go there for?
She ended up in education. She's a teacher. She's been 4 years a teacher. She's getting her master's in counseling.
Did she have a good time?
It was funny because it was like